Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today, we are going to be reacting to the latest news and reports surrounding the Detroit Pistons and Memphis Grizzlies restricted free agent Santi Aldama. So earlier this morning, at least my time in Australia, we had two, reports regarding the Grizzlies stretch big man. And it started with Jake Fischer on, I think it was Bleacher Report, one of those live chats. Jake does work for the Steinline as well as the People's Insider. Is literally his name. As you can see here from our friends over at Pistons Talk, who tweeted this out earlier today, Santi Aldama seems to be the most likely player that fits the 7-foot floor spacing, sweet shooting big man archetype that Detroit has seemingly been linked to all across the board. They might be seeing an opportunity to put some pressure on Memphis, and maybe there's an opportunity for them to work with the Grizzlies and figure out a sign and trade scenario that makes sense for both sides. Now, Jake said something similar last week, and we did a video on it about the Pistons and Aldama being a potential match. The next report we got was from HP Basketball, which is Matt Moore. And he said, as you can see here, this was tweeted out by AP Hoops, but over in his Substack, he said, Memphis, I'm told, is hopeful of being able to work out a sign and trade for Aldama, but the money is a consideration with their need to clear space for Jaren Jackson Jr. So we also did a video on Jaren Jackson Jr. a few days ago in light of the Desmond Bane trade, and maybe the Grizzlies were going to look to blow it up and potentially move Jackson. But it looks like now the Grizzlies are looking to, in moving Bane, they're looking to retool around Jackson Jr. and Ja Morant. And Aldama, they might not be able to keep him with their impending extension coming for their all-star, defensive player of the year in Jaren Jackson Jr. So this now opens up an opportunity for the Pistons to swoop in restricted free agency, because for those that don't understand, Aldama is a restricted free agent. So anything the Pistons offer, the Grizzlies can match. But the game here is that the Pistons make an offer that the Grizzlies don't want to match, and in turn look to do potentially a sign and trade, because if they match, they won't be able to offer as much salary as Jaren Jackson Jr. is demanding. Obviously, he's a priority. So this is where if the Pistons make an offer that exceeds what the Grizzlies could be prepared to pay, then they could look to work out a sign and trade for Aldama to come to Detroit. And I've got a trade situation here that I'll bring up in just a moment. But before we do, just a refresher on who Santi Aldama is as a player. He's played 4 seasons for the Memphis Grizzlies. He's 24 years old. He's a 6'11", true 4-man. He does play 5, but in terms of what he offers, I think he is more of a 4. In how he would work for the Pistons, I think in the immediate future, he'd be your backup 4 behind Tobias. And if you have injuries, he could be your backup 5 if Stu's out or JD's out. But so far in his career, he's given the Grizzlies, he's averaged 10 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He's not much of a shot blocker or a guy who's going to generate steals, but he's put up those numbers on 46% shooting from the field, 35% from 3, on around 4 attempts per game. Solid free throw shooter, around 70%, probably a bit lower than you'd expect for a guy with his touch and skill. But nonetheless, Aldama is the type of player that Trajan Langdon seems to be after. He's not the best type of player of this mold. There's Naz Reid, there's Miles Turner. There's some other names out there who could be better suited long-term. But in terms of just adding a stretch big and a player that could help open up the floor for the Pistons' young wings and Asar and Ron Holland, a guy that would open up the floor for Cade if you want to play him as a stretch 5. Aldama definitely fills a need, and I think it's going to be important to remember his skill set and what he can bring when you look at the potential contract he's probably going to get if the Pistons are able to get him away from Memphis. You have to remember the Pistons are probably going to have to overpay a little bit to get a restricted free agent. That's just how the game works. We'll get to a little bit more stats and a bit more in-depth stuff after this, but in terms of what a deal could look like for the Pistons, friend of the show, a friend of mine in general, Kyle Metz, one of the goats on Pistons Twitter. If you need anything to do with the salary cap, I implore you to go follow Kyle on Twitter, and I believe he's on Blue Sky at Kyle Metz 23. He does an amazing job just breaking this cap stuff down. I'm still trying to constantly learn it, but if you want Pistons salary cap breakdown stuff, just for the Pistons specifically, Kyle is your man. He anytime there's a room or anything, you can guarantee he's going to put out a tweet like this that'll just help you understand the possibilities. So Kyle says here, Memphis can create an additional 3.5 million in cap room if they sign and trade Aldama to Detroit for Simone Fontecchio and a pair of seconds. In that scenario, Aldama could sign a 4-year, $72 million contract with the Pistons. So that's approximately 18 million per season. In the first season, as you can see there, Kyle projects the Pistons would offer something a little bit lower to fit into their cap of just under 17 million. So on the surface, that seems like a lot for a backup 4 because you're already paying your backup 5 in Stu pretty much an identical contract, and Stu is worth every one of those dimes. It's a good contract. The question now becomes, well, you've got Tobias Harris, who's on the expiring 25 million. You have Stu on around 16 million per year, and they're going to have Aldama on around 18 million per year. That is around, off the top of my head, 60 to 65 million you have just in your backup 4, 5, and starting 4. Plus, Jalen Duren could sign an extension this season that could take that figure to around 90 to 100 million that you have invested in your front court. That seems like a fair bit, but I mean, I guess the way you would look at it is that Tobias is probably, he's not going to be on that type of money long term. So maybe Aldama's your long term 4, or maybe he's not, and you find someone else to fill that. But this is where it gets tough because Aldama fills a need, but 4 years at 72 million. I think Kyle is bang on here with what it's probably going to take to get him. That's around 2 to 3 million above the mid level, which is probably what the Grizzlies, like, see how Kyle says here, if they do the sign and trade, they can create around 3.5 million. 3.5 million off 18 million per season is pretty much the mid level, which is probably what the Grizzlies can offer to keep him and still extend Jaren Jackson Jr. So you are overpaying, like I said. So this is what gets tricky for the fan base because we want these players, but then when we look at the figure it's going to take to get them away from their team, it scares us off a little. I think Aldama would be a really nice piece to add. I do. I do just get a little bit worried that we're going to have a lot invested in this front court, and I'm not sure outside of Tobias, you have pretty much 100 million tied up if Jalen Duren signs an extension for 25 million approximately. And I'm still not sure you have a third best scorer. I mean, Tobias is, but he's not here for the long term. So maybe you go out with Tobias at 25 million and you find another guy, or you package Aldama. That's my only hesitancy. But I think Kyle's bang on here. If the Pistons make this deal, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I would be on board with it. It's just like that is a fair bit of money. Maybe I need to watch some more Aldama tape. But let me know your thoughts. If this was the scenario, the Pistons sign and trade Simone Fontecchio and a pair of seconds, you get Aldama for 4 years. Aldama is only 24. So important to remember he is a young player who still can get a lot better and is very skilled. So when you look at here, some of his advanced numbers over on Synergy, I'm just going to bring this up. So when we look over at some of his advanced numbers, so this is just for this past season. You can see here, this column here that says very good, good, good. They're all ratings that Synergy has. So in terms of catch and shoot, he's above average as good. He's really good at knocking down guarded threes. He shot 35% on those looks, which is a really nice figure. Approximately 39% on unguarded threes, which is around average. Dribble jumpers, he was actually excellent. He shot 38% on pull-up threes, only took 34, and shot it really well, 46% on pull-up twos. At the rim, really good finisher. He shot around, what do we got here? 65%. So a really solid figure. He's just under 7 foot. Not much of a mid-range shooter, but this is a guy that can score. He's excellent at hook shots. It's saying here he's in the 96th percentile. So that's extremely good. So he's a guy that with his back to the basket can do a little bit. So really skilled offensive player, really skilled offensive player. So I think this is a guy that could really help the Pistons. And I'd love to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think the Pistons should sign Aldama for that number? If they should sign and trade him for that number? And just your overall thoughts on how the Pistons offseason is progressing. But thank you so much for watching. As I keep saying, I feel like the offseason's starting to heat up a little bit. 2 real reports today. So we'll keep you posted here on Pistons Jack. But thank you so much for watching. And as always, go Pistons.